Okay, you ever heard of the floating coffin?
No.
Want me to tell you about it?
No. Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And we are plunging back into the urban legends of the Wikipedia page that lists them all.
Get your plunger.
That's right. That's the noise of a plunger.
My plunger always makes just constant fart sounds when I try to use it.
As I understand it.
So our journey continues. This time we're in the Fs.
Yeah, we finished the Ds. We are skipping over the Es because, believe it or not, there were only 2 E listings in Urban Legends.
There was, for posterity's sake, I like my organization game. And by the way, to that end, the last time that we covered Urban Legends was in episode 347. But those E's, as you mentioned, one was the Enfield Poltergeist, which we already discussed in episode 236. And the elevator game, which was way back in episode 148.
That's right.
Now, there was also at least one F that we were skipping because we'd already covered it.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the game. The Flatwoods Monster. And that harkens back to episode 5.
I know.
5
yes.
of Guide to the Unknown. This is like 7 years ago almost.
Yeah, forever.
Can I just tell you, I looked up the Flatwoods. I was curious. I was like, I wonder if there is anything to update about these topics or whatever. The Flatwoods Monster, I just know this because people have recommended it to me before.
Right.
Periodically, people have recommended a lot of video games to me. Primarily games like The Witcher, I guess, have a lot of horror elements that you can... Open world games love to hide monsters in there. Like we did Grand Theft Auto before. Well, the video game Fallout, there's an entry called Fallout 76 that I'm not super familiar with. But the Flatwoods Monster is evidently a big deal in that game that you can come across. You can constantly find these like text entries of people talking about witnessing something in the woods.
Yeah.
Drawings, like some of the iconic drawings of the Flatwoods Monster, which if you can't really picture it, it's almost got like this like...
It looks like a spade is behind its head, basically.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. But it's like a shovel behind a ghost's head.
Right, and then it's wearing like a pleated lampshade skirt.
Yeah, super weird. So there's like a lot of like folklore within...
No, I don't know why it's not just a pleated skirt. I think I always see it as being stiffer.
Well... I will say, this is an interpretation of the Flatwoods Monster that Fallout 76 has for us, because you can come face to face with it. It is not just a rumor. You can find the Flatwoods Monster, but it's like the interpretation of it is that triangular thing behind its head is like some sort of like a technological suit.
Okay. And I mean, Fallout's all mechanical stuff, right? Or something?
I think so. I haven't played much of Fallout. I know the show was really popular recently, but I do think it's like a lot of like nuclear...
Oh yeah, duh. I'm thinking of something else. Yes, it is.
It's like apocalyptic stuff, but it is like a retro future.
Yes.
Like I think there are robots and stuff. So it looks like a corpse that is in a robot suit. It almost looks like an astronaut.
Yeah.
The head of it is a perfectly circular head because it's like a glass fishbowl spaceman helmet. And it's got jet boosters that let it float.
Oh, wow.
And you literally have to fight it. You have to like fight it, like hunt it and fight it and kill it.
Sweet.
And the last thing that was notable about it at all, to me at least, was that in a lot of video games these days, if you kill somebody, you can loot their body.
Yeah.
So like in Red Dead Redemption, you'll find... weapons or whatever if you loot someone. A horseshoe if you loot someone's dead body. Well, I just happened to stumble across a video where somebody killed a Flatwoods Monster and then tried to loot its body, and one of the things they found was a cigarette.
Oh.
That's weird. Huh. Like, fuck.
Interesting.
It's like I killed Bigfoot and I'm going to loot his body, and look at that, I found a Game Boy.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, it's just not a it doesn't like, it's not associated with it at all.
No, that's surprising.
This appeared to be a monster with a fishbowl spaceman helmet. How's it smoking a cigarette?
Interesting.
Why'd the Flatwood Monster have a cigarette?
I don't know. Maybe because it's Fallout. And you're right. It is like about like living in nuclear fallout. I don't know. Maybe cigarettes are at a premium or something.
I guess. I don't know.
Like you trade them for currency and the Flatwoods Monster got their hands on one.
Who knows? I certainly don't.
Yeah.
But that I thought was just a little amusing anecdote about the Flatwoods Monster as we were cruising past some topics that we'd already discussed.
Totally.
But I love doing Urban Legends on the show. I know a lot of people out there enjoy it.
Yeah.
So why waste time?
Absolutely.
Let's get right to them after this commercial break.
Okay, so alphabetically, some stuff that I researched came first.
Sure.
So why don't I tell you about the urban legend of Fair Charlotte?
Oh, yes. Why don't you?
Okay. Now, this was the Madden Twins' first less successful band before they started Good Charlotte.
Oh, my God.
This is my little joke.
This is a great little joke.
Thank you.
Good Charlotte, but before that, there was Fair Charlotte.
Yeah.
Decent Charlotte.
And then they did some work and they got to good.
Kristen, I think this is a great joke.
Thank you, William.
I didn't laugh.
Well,
but congratulations on your joke.
that joke was worse at first, believe it or not.
Really?
Originally, I said that this was the Madden Twins' siblings' less successful band. And then I said, why is it that? That doesn't make sense.
Somehow even longer.
Right.
You're right. That is worse. Thank God you didn't tell it that way.
Okay. So the story of Fair Charlotte is kind of an urban legend, kind of not, in that it's something of a morality tale, but it's also just kind of a freaky poem.
Oh, listen,
honestly.
I'm not against that.
And I'm going to read it in full because it's not very long and it's really cool and good and a little bit like creepy. So I wanted to share it.
Cool.
But the story revolves around a young woman named Charlotte who refuses to wear warm clothing for a sleigh ride to a New Year's Eve ball.
Oh.
So I guess the urban legend comes in that like, if you don't do this, you might die. Just like Fair Charlotte did. So make sure if you're going to go out in the cold that you bundle up. You don't fall victim to your own vanity.
It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, exactly.
She probably would have responded, the cold never bothered me anyway. Which is what Zoe says sometimes when it's too cold and we ask her to put on a coat. Like say we're taking her into a cave. Of course. You're gonna need a coat. It's cold under the ground. Cold never bothered me anyway.
Oh God, she's the best.
It's cute, but you ain't Elsa.
Yeah, right.
Let's get that coat on.
Right.
Good Charlotte. Fine Charlotte.
She kicks total ass. So that vanity that leads her to not want to wear her coat because she's dressed up for a New Year's Eve ball and she wants to just like wear her dress and not have, the lines of it ruined by a puffy coat or whatever, leads to her tragic death because she freezes on the way to the ball.
Yes.
So the origin of the story is that it was a song by Seba Smith. But somewhat lesser known is that it's said that song was actually inspired by a newspaper story about this actually happening in real life.
Oh.
And I have links in the show notes to information about that. I don't have, it's really just the rumor that it was inspired by a real newspaper story. So I don't have the newspaper story, but.
Fair enough. That's fine. Yeah.
So the song was published as a poem in a Maine newspaper in 1843, and that poem is called A Corpse Going to a Ball.
Oh, I love that.
It's really awesome. So I'm going to read it to you now. It's in like 4-line stanzas.
Yeah.
Young Charlotte lived by the mountainside, a wild and lonely spot. No dwelling there for 3 miles round, except her father's cot. And yet, on many a winter's eve, young swains were gathered there, for her father kept a social board, and she was very fair. Young swains, I don't know if it's like, dudes and people were around, and her father kept a social board,
he always had the same holiday party.
And no, it's not even his party.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's saying like, he kept, like a board, almost like a group or a committee of people. Her father kept a social board. I think it's just saying like her father was a social dude. There were always people around and she was very fair, like fair as in pretty.
Beautiful, right?
People were into it. Okay. Her father loved to see her dressed as prim as a city belle, for she was all the child he had and he loved his daughter well. 'Tis New Year's Eve, the sun is down. Why looks her restless eye so long from the frosty window forth as merry sleighs go by? At the village inn 15 miles off is a merry bell tonight. As a merry ball tonight. The piercing air is cold as death, but her heart is warm and light. And brightly beams her laughing eye as a well-known voice she hears. And dashing up to the cottage door, her Charlie's sleigh appears. Now, daughter dear,
Charlie?
I guess it's her dude. Like, Charlie. Charlie.
Is that
he wasn't mentioned.
The Chad of the day?
Yeah, maybe.
She's with a real Chad. She got a real Charlie.
Got a real Charlie. Now, daughter dear, her mother cried, this blanket round you fold, for 'tis a dreadful night abroad. You'll catch your death a cold. oh nay, fair Charlotte said. And she laughed like a, now this is a word that we've come to learn as a slur for like Romani people, so I'm not going to say it. She laughed like a queen. To ride with blankets muffled up, I could never be seen. My silken cloak is quite enough, you know 'tis lined throughout. And then I have a silken shawl to tie my neck about. Her bonnet and her gloves are on, she jumps into the sleigh, and swift they ride by the mountainside and over the hills away. There's life in the sound of the merry bells, as over the hills they go, but a creaking wail the runners make as they bite the frozen snow. How long the bleak and lonely way, how keen the wind does blow. The stars did never shine so cold, how creaks the frozen snow. With muffled faces silently, 5 cold long miles they've passed. And Charles, with those few frozen words, the silence broke at last. So I guess he's her Charlie, but to us he's Charles.
He's Charles, yeah, but she calls him Charlie.
Yeah.
This is evoking a real good I wonder if the listeners are getting it too, but I am like picturing like
it's really
a sled
good.
in the snow and talking about the creaking snow. Like I feel like I can hear that. The crunching snow under your feet, that's under the sled right now.
Right.
And they're only 5 miles.
And it's a 15 mile.
15 miles. So they're only a third of the way there at this point.
She's only wearing a silk shawl and she's like, oh, it's lined, but like that's not helpful.
It's silk. Silk is so thin.
Totally. And a silk bonnet. Give me a break.
You need more. How flimsy is a silk bonnet? You're going to need more.
This is like
Charlotte.
nothing. Totally.
Charlotte and Charlie.
Yeah.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah, it is
right?
cute.
Yeah,
nice for them. Such night as this I never saw. The reins I scarce can hold. That's Charlie talking.
He can barely hold on to the horse reins because he's so freezing.
Yep. And Charlotte, shivering, faintly said, I am exceedingly cold. He cracked his whip and urged his steed more swiftly than before, and now 5 other dreary miles in silence are passed o'er. How fast, said Charles, the freezing ice is gathering on my brow. But Charlotte said with feebler tone, I'm growing warmer now.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
That's hypothermia.
Yes. And on they went through the frosty air and the glittering cold starlight. And now at last the village inn and the ballroom are in sight. They reach the door and Charles jumps out and holds his hand to her. Why sits she like a monument that hath no power to stir? He called her once, he called her twice, she answered not a word. He asked her for her hand again, but still she never stirred. He took her hand in his, oh God, 'twas cold and hard as stone. He tore the mantle from her face, the cold stars on her shone. Then quickly to the lighted hall her voiceless form he bore. His Charlotte was a stiffened corpse, and words spoke nevermore. So he carried her in.
Is that the end?
Yeah.
That is...
Isn't it great?
incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so good.
I absolutely love that.
And that's it. That's all there is to it. The urban legend of Fair Charlotte
That's it.
is really just about this song that was printed as a poem and just the idea that you don't want to end up like Fair Charlotte.
Yeah. No, wow. I love that.
Isn't
I love how that was written.
I know.
The like words are very evocative. Like I got a whole picture in my head.
Yeah.
Wow.
know.
That great find. I love that.
I know.
Interesting. So then the claim, remind me, it was said that it was maybe based on an actual news story, but we don't know for sure, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot, right? Like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this came out in the newspaper in 1843. And I think it said that the rumor is that there was a news story in 1840 that inspired Seba Smith to write the song.
So 3 years. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Cautionary tale entirely. Like you get it 100%. Am I goofy for thinking the following? That party
Yeah.
is ruined.
It's over.
It's over.
The party's over. He carried her in like that. I mean,
What's he supposed to do?
I know. I was
He's
going to say, I mean, what
warm.
else can he do?
His life is
like,
over.
he's not going to just leave her out there like that. But he walked in with his Charlotte was a stiffened corpse.
Now, this is all, like, think about the fallout from a simple choice back then.
Yeah.
Like, it was too late. Like, she made her, she was like, it's going to be fine, Mom.
Right.
And, like, the tragedy for her is clear. But then think about all the rest of the fallout. Because I don't want to overlook that. She's dead. She's dead.
Yeah.
But, like, think about, like, she made a choice. It wasn't easy to undo that choice once you're off and running into the freezing cold.
You can't undo it.
You're on a death voyage and you don't even know it yet.
Right.
The spookiness of her going like, I'm getting warmer now. And that's all that's said about that in the song.
And like, I don't know if they knew what that meant.
Do they know? I wonder, and this is pure speculation.
Yeah.
To the point of insanity. But like whether they knew it then or maybe far enough long ago in the past.
Yeah.
When somebody got so cold that they got hypothermia and started to say, I'm hot now.
Yeah.
That almost feels like you can see how someone might make a leap to be like they're crossing the boundary from living to dead. They are so cold, they're beyond rational, sensible thought. They're feeling something from another place.
And if you're supposed to be kind of like restored in death, like, you know how they say that any ailments you have are just going to be gone. Like that cold is gone from you. You're restored to what you were before, just like a warm, fine body.
Yes, you're literally passing through the veil of the living to the dead. And so you're feeling different sensations.
Right.
But then like think about like the rest of the fallout like of poor dunderheaded Charlie.
He's got to ride 15 miles back to her house with her corpse.
He's only halfway through the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, wait a minute, why isn't she moving?
Right.
And like has to move her hood and like...
Yeah, he reached his hand out to her, probably like, "Milady," to go into the ball.
Back when Milady was like acceptable to say.
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
This is like...
Yeah.
Tipped his fedora and said Milady back when it was completely reasonable to be doing that. Yeah. And she's not moved. She didn't.
No, the cold stars on her shone.
Something.
He tore the mantle from her face. The cold stars on her shone.
Oh, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And it's kind of beautiful.
I know.
And
I loved it.
This party is destroyed.
It's over.
Ruined.
It's going to be a terrible new year.
Ruined.
But
at least somebody got to write a pretty cool song.
R-U-I-N-apostrophe-D.
Yeah. Ruined. I love that, Kristen.
I know. Fabulous, right?
Yep.
Should I tell you another one?
Sure.
It's a little bit of a quickie.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Okay. This is the urban legend of fan death. Had you ever heard of this? Because I had not. This is the idea that is primarily held in South Korea that running an electric fan in a closed room with no open windows can result in death.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of that before?
I've never heard that. I would be dead 50,000 times over.
Oh, me too. I'd be in big trouble.
We've got 2 fans running on us right now.
Oh, yeah.
I always have at least 2 fans upstairs in the warmer months. Yep.
Fans constantly.
Yep.
I must have moving air.
And I'm hermetically sealed in this house. The windows are not open. The doors are closed.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I'd be a corpse.
Yes. Now it's primarily prevalent in the past, this belief.
Okay.
But some people do believe it today. So there are a couple of ways that people believe that this could happen, like reasons that fans could cause this. One is that some people believed that it could cause hypothermia, potentially lowering your body temperature enough to be fatal.
Okay.
Another reason that some people believed that this could happen is that it could cause suffocation, that a fan operating in a sealed room is just circulating warm air and that it's hindering proper breathing and that somehow that is resulting in suffocation.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right to me.
No, it really doesn't.
Neither one sounds right. I've never gotten so cold from just a simple fan that I'm at risk of hypothermia.
No.
And I would say like maybe I'd be like, oh, they're saying that it's just blowing your own carbon dioxide around the room.
That is a good point.
That's what I thought.
But you know what? I mean, it's tricky because even like the Korean Consumer Board supported that this is something that could happen.
Okay.
They recommended to leave doors open while sleeping, ensure that fans are oscillating, and to set timers to automatically turn off fans instead of letting them run all night, which is suggesting that like this rumor
it could happen,
that got out of control sort of has weight to it. So, you know, a board did nothing to dissuade this.
Sure. Or is it just trying to give some calm? Like there are some, if you're afraid of it, everybody, and we're not able to convince you that you're wrong, that it can't happen, here are some things that might make you feel more at peace with it.
No,
this
that's true.
also feels like the the cell phone thing to me, the Scream thing of like cell phones are here. What's the scariest possible situation with this technology?
Yeah.
Like I have this belief that anytime there's a piece of technology that changes things, people are afraid of it. And then somebody starts telling stories about like, well, here's the worst case scenario.
Okay, so there is a theory behind how this kind of became a thing that I got from an article on Gwangju News. They hypothesize that when electric fans first became commonly used in Korea in the 70s, this was a time when fortune tellers, talismans, and belief in evil spirits was very common as well, and just kind of a general superstition in Korean culture. And this is a quote from that article, quote, "Similar to the belief in some cultures that the early camera would capture one's soul, it's quite plausible that many Koreans believed that the airstream created by this newfangled, evil spirit-infused wind maker would whisk away one's life breath as it swept over its unsuspecting open-mouthed victim lost in deep sleep. All the dastardly deeds of those evil spirits of the night, to be sure."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I know. Thank you, Gwangju News.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It speaks to exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
Anytime life changes because of technology, we humans who are set in our ways go like, well, things are changing? This ain't right.
Yeah, we're resistant to it and find a way to make it scary. And if you are somebody who's kind of prone to, superstition or kind of like out there thought anyway, it stands to reason that you would sort of apply that out there thought to that thing. So in this case, it's that like, oh my God, could this kill me?
Yeah.
So superstition in my example doesn't really apply, but extreme thought does.
It's also like the like, well, we existed without this before.
Right.
Why do I need it now?
Yeah.
It's probably not good for you.
Yeah.
Because we didn't need it.
Why bother?
It's like the same thing as anybody being like TV bad, TV boob tube.
Yeah.
TV rot brain.
I know.
You know, like it's just like anytime there's something that shakes things up or a new staple in your life, you view it as a horror show.
I was just thinking about this today because I was watching TV and I was thinking about like, oh, this used to be something that was so demonized. Like it was like, oh, you were just rotting away watching TV. And I was thinking like, so what was the alternative to that was supposed to be so good? And I was thinking, well, it's probably reading is what was supposed to be like the smart alternative to that. What today is the activity that's like rotting your brain? I guess it's social media, right?
It's still social media and TikTok, but I think the new fear is AI.
It certainly is. Definitely the
which
fear,
has been
fear
it's been
is
lingering
AI.
For a long time. Like there have been AI stories going back like 100 years, but like it's far more a practical part of our lives where Apple's being like Apple Intelligence going to be on all your stuff coming soon. So like I think it's becoming a little more tangible, and so a lot of people are really doom and gloom about it. I certainly have been. Even just now, I was talking to you the other day or yesterday about like all of a sudden the AI conversation is starting to take on a nuance. Yeah. Where I was like, AI bad, but wait a minute, AI really bad?
Yeah, because I used it to research actually. Like I had read something about how Google's AI Gemini is useful as
this sounds like some evil shit.
I know.
It still sounds like some fucking shit that James Bond would be trying to fight against.
Villain.
Yeah, we got to take down Gemini.
Totally. But I read about how it's useful for researching. And I was like, well, I research all the time. And so I'm sure that there are ways that you could use it that would be, I don't even know, whatever. But like, so even for example, for this, I think I wrote like, oh, what can you tell me about Korean fan death with sources, please. And so it was almost the same as like if I were to just Google, which I do all the time, Korean fan death, but it gave me, instead of just like looking at the first few results and like having a few sentences that I read that are then cut off, it gave me those few sentences, but they were complete sentences. And then links that I clicked where I could read more. But then from there, I did my own Googling. Like I read those things and I was like, oh, that point is interesting.
Yeah,
and
it just served as a launch for you.
Yeah,
It replaced what Wikipedia does.
Even though I still used Wikipedia as well.
Okay.
I don't know. It was honestly, I can't even give you like a strong argument for it being like so much better, but it was helpful.
Well, it was a good example for me though of like the AI thing, and it's been such a lightning rod. And I know I've certainly reacted to it as well, but like anytime a movie uses AI,
Yeah.
People are like, well, then fudge this. I'm like, no.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think what's starting to be come into focus a little more is that it's not just AI bad. It's AI is a million things.
I mean,
Generative
Alexa
AI
is AI.
Alexa is AI. That's the other thing.
Siri is AI.
Apple has been referring to like their neural processing for years.
Yeah.
That's been AI the whole time.
Yeah, totally.
We've been using AI the whole time, but
That kind of made it click for me. Yeah.
The fear of the term has really exploded.
Yeah.
And all of this, like, say a few words and it'll create an image. Say a few words, it'll create a video. All of
Yeah.
that being trained off of artists has been considered theft, which I personally believe it is.
Oh, I totally do.
So it's becoming more nuanced where now I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is my problem with AI? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe my problem with AI is generative AI specifically. AI that can generate your art for you,
Yes.
leveraging the effort and talent of people who came before who don't know that their styles are being aped by a machine.
I certainly feel that way.
I think that's what I'm against.
Yeah.
But now all of this, like, AI to help you keep track of your calendar.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing to demonize as the thing that's like replacing artists' work? Like,
I
I
know.
don't think it is. Or,
I don't
or
think
is
so.
it? Or what do you do?
I don't really know. This was like
I think it's still too early.
the maybe third time I've dipped my toe into doing anything with AI.
All I know is I keep seeing people post my Twitter. It's like I can't open it without either like people having opinions I don't want to see, or AI people being like, look at this thing I made and it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's just like I get it. It's like impressive technology, but no one's using it in a way that proves to me that it's
like
as
super
great.
worthwhile.
And it's just like I keep getting inundated with like, here's the Simpsons intro if it was narrated by
Somebody
Adam
post that.
Sandler.
Yeah.
But there was like no jokes in it either. Like I watched the whole thing and I'm like, my eyes glaze over. I'm just like,
What is this?
this is meaningless. Like I can feel that this was created by somebody who had a weird idea, typed a few words,
Right.
and then a computer spit it out.
That's
It's like
so
it just
weird to
sucks,
me.
and it just uses Adam Sandler's voice. Like it's messed up. It's crazy. But anyway,
Crazy.
long story short, I do think that right now that is still one of the big things that we're contending with.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
it's
do
really
too.
hitting a consumer level now of like this. Really, people really are interacting with this, even if they don't realize it.
Yes. No, that I mean, that really clicked for me and made me a little bit more open to like even like trying that when I was like, oh, we are kind of I have been kind
everywhere.
of using AI.
Yeah, invoke Gemini.
Yeah, right. In different ways for like ever, and I'm not opposed to that. Like,
Gemini,
why would
are
it
you
be
listening?
So terrible to like try this thing that might make my research better and help me get to like better points or something.
Gemini,
I don't know, whatever.
I summon you.
But the fans were the Gemini
Right. Of
for
the time.
South Korea in 1970.
Yeah.
Apparently, sort of. But yeah, no, it was sort of like, you know, newer technology that was like, what is this doing? And
Emerging technology in your house.
and directly interacting with your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see that being a little bit like
That too is what I'm saying about AI. Like once
Yeah.
it hits, like once it is that intimate thing, cell phones for Scream, like it's in
Yeah.
your pocket.
Yeah.
The call coming from inside the house, like having multiple lines in your house. Like
Yeah.
once it's in your home, the fan,
Yep.
whatever, once it's really touching you, that I think is where a lot of the like fear-mongering storytelling, urban legendizing of
Yeah.
technology happens. It's just cool to hear it happen even with something as simple as a fan
Totally.
in the house. Like it's very affirming of like my belief of like something new happens, we all get scared of it, we tell the worst possible version of it. The reality can never be as scary
yeah.
as the story we're telling. And collectively, like evolution, we all now digest this new fear, this new technology, normalize it,
Yep.
and move on.
Yeah.
It's like it's part of our pattern of
Totally.
humanity.
As long as that technology is, you know, fine and
Helpful,
ethical.
yeah, of use.
Because
yeah.
like, yeah, the generative thing I think is so
yeah,
I don't really
yeah.
want to normalize it. I know
It's-
you don't either,
yeah,
but
it's
you know.
happening, yeah.
But yeah. So I think I skipped a point. Oh, there's also a conspiracy theory that the South Korean government invented the concept of fan death to encourage citizens to reduce electricity consumption during an energy crisis.
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, totally.
Interesting. Okay.
And just to wrap up the fan death thing, Ken Jennings, writing for Slate, says that based on, quote, a recent email survey of survey. Survey is my Siri.
Yeah.
I don't like to engage with too much
Survey.
AI. I'm still dipping my toe in, so I use Survey.
Survey, can you remind me to cook dinner tonight?
Go F myself.
No. Thank
That's
you.
the level that I'm comfortable with.
Thank you, Survey.
I'm comfortable with Survey telling me no
Yeah.
and Google Gemini.
I don't know why my example of people, because I use Alexa all the time. I don't know why my example of somebody interacting with AI is somebody staring in the middle distance with their eyes crossed.
I just did the same thing.
But it does feel right. Survey,
Oh, Survey.
are you there?
Survey, where am I?
No, I'm not. I don't. Okay, bye. It's useless.
So based on a recent email survey of contacts in Korea, opinion seems to be shifting among younger Koreans. And this is the quote: a decade of internet skepticism seems to have accomplished what the preceding 75 years could not, convinced a nation that Korean fan death is probably just hot air.
Yeah.
Nice one, Ken Jennings.
Oh, way to go, Ken Jennings. He's the Jeopardy boy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that Jeopardy boy.
I know, he's got the moves. And then my last one is a pretty quick one. This is really not an urban legend. It seems like it's probably just a creepypasta.
Sure.
There's no
against
evidence that this happened at all. But I think just because it has a good name and it's a cryptid, supposedly, and there are weird details to the story that make it sound legit, it kind of got lumped into urban legends,
Right.
which fine.
Yeah.
This is the Felixstowe Fire Demon.
Oh, hell yeah.
The story is that it's a cryptid sighting from England in 1965. So the story is that there was a group of friends taking a drive. They were pulled over. They're just having a chat. And then there's a dude named Michael Johnson suddenly just like bolted out of the car and ran into the woods. And the remaining friends in there were like, what the hell was that? But they assumed that maybe he just got out to take a pee-pee. Surprise
Okay.
pee-pee. So shortly after he ran out, the two remaining occupants in the car started to hear a high-pitched humming sound. And they were irritated by the noise, so the driver leaned out of the window to figure out what was going on and be like, what the hell is that? And at that moment, he noticed an oval-shaped orange object hovering in the sky about 90 feet above the car. And they're just like, we don't know what's going on. Then that dude, Michael Johnson, who had run into the woods, reappeared, like got back to the car, but passed out, like as soon as he got back to the car. So they all take him to the hospital, obviously. And
Probably just sleepy.
yeah, probably after he took that pee-pee really took it out of him. Running to the woods, immediate pee, running back. That's what. My work is done. Then at the hospital, Johnson recounted an encounter that he had with this alien in the woods. He said that the reason he ran out of the car is because he was compelled to, for some reason, by this unknown force. It just came over him all of a sudden that he had to leave the car and go into the woods. And then when he was in there, he came across a humanoid being with large sloping eyes that glowed in the distance. And the creature looked like it was engulfed in orange flames. So he's in the car, he's like talking with his friends, then all of a sudden he's like, I must run into the woods. Runs into the woods, sees a creature with like giant eyes. I looked up pictures of it and it's just like almost like fan art, I guess you would say. It's just people have like made pictures of it. It basically looks like a classic like alien gray, but orange and engulfed in flames. So he's like compelled to run into the woods, sees that, then runs out of the woods back to the car and passes out.
Okay.
And then he, just regains consciousness in the hospital and tells them that that's what happened. And that is it. That's the whole story.
Wow. Yeah, that is very simple.
There's nothing to it. The Felixstowe is a real town in England. The local news site shared the story in 2022 because why wouldn't they?
It's a story
involving,
to tell. So yeah.
But there's nothing to it that indicates that this is true. The names in the story are all out of thin air. But it's a fun story.
Fair enough.
Somehow it ended up on the Urban Legends Wikipedia page.
Yes. We've called it out in every Urban Legends episode, but I don't think we said it this time.
Yeah.
Part of the joy of doing this is that we're at the mercy of whatever Wikipedia editors have put on the Urban Legends list.
Yeah.
with an urban legend is supposed to be like a thing that is really said to have like happened or like carries
and to kind
a
of you
tale,
should
a narrative.
look out for or something.
Yeah. I guess this technically might satisfy that, but it's just one of the flimsiest yet.
Absolutely, I think it is.
Not that I think there's anything wrong with that, by the way.
It's still fun.
I'm not against hearing a stupid story.
I was surprised at how incredibly bare it is.
Yes. Bare is a great way of looking at it. All right, so I'm going to tell you about some of the urban legends that I looked up, but first I'm going to tell you about not an urban myth at all. It's real.
Oh, it's all too real. This is patreon.com/GTTUpod. This is the home of our second weekly podcast, The Netherworld Dispatch. It comes out every Monday, and if you join us on our Demon tier over on Patreon, you get access to all of those episodes. We have a number of other different tiers that you can check out. You can see which one works the best for you, and then you get those episodes at different intervals, but there's still plenty of them no matter which tier you join us on. And if you join us on the $4 tier in particular, and any tier above that, you get ad-free episodes of this show. Yep. So all ads are skipped. This one that we're talking about right now, the baked-in commercials that you hear from other people, you don't have to worry about any of those.
No, move on from them. You're essentially you're going straight to the source.
Totally.
So you get the purest form of Guide to the Unknown, pure uncut. Although, ironically, it is edited to cut out those things. But the purest form of Guide to the Unknown imaginable.
Yes.
So thank you all so much, everybody who already does back us. Everybody out there, thank you if you consider signing up. We hope that you have a tier that fits your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy the Netherworld Dispatch. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things that we can't quite achieve on the main feed. So go check it out. It's like a tooth. It goes deeper than you think.
That is true.
You know?
That is true. Thank you so much to everybody over there. It's really awesome. We get such nice comments from people on episodes. I really love it.
Yeah, people seem to really enjoy it too,
people
which
on
is the
Patreon,
wonderful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, comment.
We try to always
stuff.
pick like fun topics and interesting things. It really does. It literally doubles Guide to the Unknown for you if you go up to that demon tier.
Yeah.
And it makes a considerable difference to us as well.
Oh, it's
so thank you.
huge. So thank you.
It's almost like having somebody who like helps us just keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need funding to be able to make silly shows.
Yes.
Oh, so sorry to interrupt, but we got an amazing package in the mail that we wanted to share with everybody.
Yes.
This is very exciting. Melissa sent us something to our P.O. box that comes to us from an artist named Gabe Wolf. And we're going to show it in the video version. We'll describe it for everybody listening. But Kristen, why don't you unwrap that sucker? We'll get some beautiful bean footage.
All right, let's take a look. So this is so cool. Melissa works at a skate shop, and Gabe is a local artist who came in with this skateboard painted with Ghostface on it. And Melissa so sweetly said, "Oh, I listened to a show where they love Scream. Could I send it to them? And, maybe they'll promote you on the show." And Gabe was game. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you so much to Melissa and Gabe. Will, want to describe a little bit what you're holding in your hands?
I love it. It's like the underside of the skate deck. It's like a graffitied Ghostface. It looks like Shotgun Ghostface from Scream 6.
Yep.
But the skateboard itself is like smashed in half, which it's half of a skate deck.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really cool. And it's like actually like the frayed, you can sort of hear me. It's the actual frayed ends of the smashed up skateboard, which is super fun.
Yeah.
And let me see here. We got some business cards from Gabe. At Gabe Wolf with 2 Fs on TikTok. Super cool. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you so much, Gabe.
Yeah, this was so thoughtful. It was really generous of Gabe to be cool with Melissa sending it over. Thank you both so much. I hope you go check out Gabe's work, everybody out there, if you're interested. And very happy to have this for the Guide to the Unknown set now.
Super cool. Yep. Thank you so much, Melissa. And hey, back to the show. Now, we also like reading reviews.
Yeah.
And I've got a whopper of a review for us, Chrissy, from MK Ricks, who titled it, and this is good because this speaks to the history and the quality. It's titled, "Still Great as Ever." I began listening to Guide to the Unknown back in the Brownies and Daniel Stern era.
Ha!
What do you think of that?
Been with us for a long time.
That's OG.
This is an old episode of ours.
And I gave it a glowing review several years ago, but I thought I would jump back in to drop an updated review to see how the siblings stack up after all these years.
Holy shit.
Right? This is interesting. Like, have we gotten better or worse?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Probably.
The answer? Better than ever.
That's great.
I've loved all of the creative content that Will and Chrissy have dared to try. The short-lived Ghost Adventures, which, by the way, is on our Patreon.
Yes.
The not-so-spooky, but kind of tangentially connected material, which I'm a fan of saying, like, if it's even marginally spooky, we're going to cover it someday.
Yeah.
The streaming games, Cage-tober. They are always thinking of the next cool thing to try, and if it doesn't work out quite right, they roll with it and move on. What else can you do?
Right.
I listen for many reasons. I'm not a slasher fan by any means. I'm more of a creature feature person. So when they cover the Scream or Halloween type franchises, I enjoy it because I know I'm not going to sit through those movies, but I'll still get to hear the plot. I also love learning about scary things from different cultures. I also love hearing about baby Zoe, who is about 6 months older than my own little dude. But mostly, I love listening because of the warm and funny banter between Will and Chrissy as they talk about the things they love, which has been the heart of the show from the very beginning. 5 stars.
Wow.
MK Ricks gets it.
Wow. That is so nice. Thank you so much.
Legitimately what it's all about.
Yeah. Thank you so much, MK Ricks. That is so nice of you. Thanks for going back and doing that again. So glad you liked the show. That was a really nice review.
It was a wonderful review.
Thank you so much to everybody who reviews us. If you haven't done it yet, we would love it if you did leave us a review.
Yep.
Will might read it on the show, which is always so much fun. If you like the show, we'd really appreciate it if you shared it with somebody, if you texted it to a friend, if you shared it on your stories, whatever. It really makes a big difference. It's a big deal to us, is what I'm saying. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop rambling.
It is a joy to talk about all these horror weird things and learn stories we never heard before, share things we love. Let's face it, sometimes rip things to shreds.
Yeah.
But it's all in good fun. We try to speak our truth.
Yes.
That's all we can do. We have a good time being creepy.
Try to report.
Scary fun.
That's right. Scary
It's a good
fun.
way to put it. All right. More urban legends, everybody, after this commercial break. Okay, you ever heard of the floating coffin?
No.
Want me to tell you about it?
No.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to go now. Oh, this is my home. You leave.
Do tell. No,
All right.
you have to leave.
Damn it.
I live here now.
Oh, shit. So here's a fun way to put it. I love this. This is the greatest description, which comes from findagrave.com.
What's the purpose of findagrave.com? But like, why are we finding a grave? What's going on at findagrave.com?
I think it's, listen, because I was about to say to you what I think it is, which is not the same as telling you what it really is. The fact of the matter is I don't know what it really is. Find a grave. I mean, what's to stop us from just going there?
Yeah.
But like, I think in the context of this story, it was literally about trying to ascertain the location of a person whose grave is not known.
That's what it is. I just went to the site, world's largest gravesite collection, over 238 million memorials created by the community since 1955. And there are search fields for first name, middle name, last name, year born, year died, and cemetery location. It seems like you'd be looking for the cemetery location. Whatever.
It's
but
like
I guess
a
it's
Facebook of graveyards.
Yeah, I guess it's yeah. Okay.
I mean, listen.
A database is the word I was looking for.
A database. I think it's a noble effort.
I do too. That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
To give some pomp and circumstance to the dead.
That's cool.
But so in this case, they tell the story pretty tidily of the floating coffin.
Okay.
This is literally what they wrote, by the way. So it's what I grasp is that findagrave.com isn't necessarily a dry database of just facts.
Yeah.
Just listen to this.
Okay.
Ever heard the one about Coughlin's coffin? It's an old island folktale about a gentleman named Charles Coughlin who lived on the island, left for work, and then came back home again. Sounds like many an island story, except for the coming home part is a little different in this one. Chrissy, Charles Francis Coughlin died in Galveston, Texas, on the 27th of November, 1899.
Okay.
After a month's illness, his body was temporarily placed in a metal casket and stored in a vault at the local cemetery to await further family instructions. By the way, remember, this is all coming back to something called the floating coffin. That's the name of the urban legend.
Yeah.
Thomas Coughlin dies. He's put in a metal casket as they decide what to do with him.
A metal casket.
Several days after his death, take your time, it was announced through the press that his remains would be returned to New York for cremation. So he's going to go from Texas to New York for cremation. Where he lived, where his home was, I should point out, is on an island somewhere. Mm-hmm. Whatever. We'll get to that. But so he's far away from home in Texas. We'll put it that way. So nearly a year later, the disposition of the body still had yet to be decided. Take your sweet time. Everyone, feel free to take your time with this guy's dead body.
Why? Why?
This is total madness. Just like absolute madness.
What's
Charles,
the holdup?
I don't know. I don't understand. It's 1899. What else do you have to do?
Right.
I mean, I guess everyone
just sit and play jacks or whatever.
This is Red Dead.
Hoop and stick.
This is Red Dead Redemption times. So there is a lot of video poker going on, which I've been known to get sucked into periodically. Okay, we'll put it that way, Chachi. Charles Francis Coughlin lies in his metal coffin. They wait a few days, then say they're going to take him home to New York. Then they wait a year.
Is he floating in his own juices? Is that where the floating comes in?
Kristen, the juices. Then, because they waited so goddamn long, quote, his casket was swept away from its resting place by a storm surge generated from the deadly Galveston hurricane of 1900. So they waited so long.
Where was it? Like, where was it that could just be swept away?
I don't know. They probably just left it.
It was just like on the lawn?
Just left it outside. They probably put him in the coffin, shut it, and went, I'll get to this. You know what, honey? I'll get to this later.
Yeah.
And then left him. I have a pair of shoes that have been sitting in the backyard for like 3 weeks now. They've sat through the rain. All I got to do is throw them out. Still haven't touched them.
I had a pair like that. They were like rubber sandals, and they shrunk gradually more and more and more in the sun.
Really? Like, until they look like a doll's shoes?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, why do you have desk chairs behind your shed?
Oh, because we
Keep meaning to ask you this as we're talking about things being left discarded outside.
There's not a good reason. It's
They're
that
desk chairs. You have a shed. Kristen has a shed a good 30 feet from her house. Behind the shed are at least 2 black desk chairs.
The reason is that we need to throw them away, and Ryan had put them outside by the garbage can thing, but they won't take them. And we don't have bulk pickup in our town. Oh. And he just wanted to put them somewhere out of the way.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I could see them.
Yeah, I know.
I've been wondering.
No, I know.
They're quite out of place.
I agree.
It's fine. It was just unusual.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anyway, so that's what they did with Charles Francis Coughlin, who has just been left alone in his coffin for a year until this hurricane.
Coughlin.
Yeah, until this hurricane comes along and sweeps him up and carries him away and just disappears.
Yeah.
No one knows where his casket went. And this is part 1 of the mystery of the floating coffin. This is part 1 of the urban legend, I should say. Charles Francis Coughlin floats away in his coffin and isn't seen for at least years. At least years. Now, it is said that eventually his body was found by Prince Edward Island. That's where his home was. By a group of Canadian fishermen. Okay. The claim, what makes
Bad fishing day.
We got a live one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't. No. What makes the story remarkable in terms of into an urban legend is that cutesy pie notion of like he left his island, went to work, and came home again. What's said to have occurred is that Charles Francis Coughlin's coffin in Texas floated somehow all the way north to Prince Edward Island in Canada, where his home was.
I was about to... Yes. What the hell?
That's what the claim is. That's what makes it an urban legend.
Yeah.
How remarkable is it that his coffin went home again?
How could this be?
There are people, somebody made a fun, silly claim. A skeptic referred to Coughlin's casket as a homing coffin.
Yeah.
Because it knew where to go, knew where to pilot to get him back to his abode. Now, it may not shock you to learn that the truth is different from what people said.
Yeah, of course.
So, the New York Actors Club had for several years had a standing reward for anyone who would recover his coffin.
Was he an actor?
Yeah, he was. I should have said he was a writer and an actor, and he was friends with like Charles Dickens.
Fancy man.
He was notable. Yeah, fancy man.
So that's kind of even stranger that he ended up in like a weird metal casket that they just like left for a year.
Yeah, it's like Lin-Manuel Miranda's friend. Dies and they just leave his casket lying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of weird.
No, it's super weird, but when you say it like that, I guess it's a little bit like Roger Clinton and the hierarchy of people. It's not like it's like Charles Dickens.
Yes, it's the friend of someone
who still worked in the profession.
Yeah,
but like,
he was in plays. He wrote his own plays.
Yeah, still a person who deserves to be treated well.
It does seem like he's most well known because people think his coffin floated home.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of that. But here's what really happened. Although there is a nugget on the way before we get to the real coffin. 1904, because remember, people are looking for this coffin. They think there's going to be a reward. If anybody can find Coughlin's coffin, you might get a reward. In 1904, a metal coffin was found in a marsh. At first, it was thought to have been Coughlin's. However, it proved to be the remains of a man from New York. How often is this happening?
Yeah, what's going on?
There's a second one?
This is odd.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Absolutely.
And
both metal coffins, which I didn't realize were a thing at all, actually.
And I wouldn't expect to be particularly buoyant.
I wouldn't either.
Are they watertight or airtight? Like, wouldn't you think they'd get waterlogged and sink or something?
Right. I know. I don't know. This whole thing is very surprising.
So here's what really happened. Coughlin's coffin, or his remains, were eventually found in January of 1907. So this is still 7 years later after he disappeared in the hurricane, by a group of hunters who discovered it partially submerged in a marsh some 9 miles from Galveston, Texas. His coffin floated 9 miles away.
Yeah.
Still pretty far.
It still is far, but it's it's not to his home in Prince Edward Island or whatever.
Yeah, it's not around the country, the continent, up to the tippy top of the
Canada.
globe. Yeah, just bonkers. Yeah. But here's what makes it also fun and bonkers is that was 1907 that his coffin actually was found.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop this legend. So much so that in 1929, a fella named Ripley gets a hold of the tale and draws a little picture. Charles Coughlin comes home, it says. He died in 1899 and was buried in Galveston. When the tragic flood came, his coffin was washed out to sea, and the Gulf Stream carried him around Florida and up the coast to Prince Edward Island, 2,000 miles distant, where he lived. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
This is like the original Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
Which I've put zero thought into, ever, but it did get my gears turning about, like, we should look at Ripley's Believe It or Not someday.
Oh, sure.
It's like even the institution of it, it's like an Uncle John's of its era, I think.
I think we have.
Have we?
Yeah.
The original Uncle John?
Yeah, we have done Ripley's Believe It or Not,
really?
I believe.
Well, I should look again. I don't know. I don't remember much. But this is amusing because, like, that's 1929, so people are still saying that Coughlin's coffin returned home, even though that's not what happened.
Yeah.
But there's a semi-interesting footnote. The 1907 news report of the actual discovery did not tell about what happened to his remains. And all they know is that he certainly was not reburied on Prince Edward Island. So after all this, still no one knows where this guy is buried. Findagrave.com does not know.
Oh boy.
Coughlin's coffin, the floating coffin, the cutesy pie story about going home. The actual story is that he died, was left outside for a year, his coffin disappeared for 7 years. They found it, and no one knows where it is again.
Oh my God. What's with everybody in the sky?
No one gave a shit about this guy.
This is terrible.
This really is awful. This is really...
No, it's messed up.
It really is a shame.
Yeah.
But so that's the story of the floating coffin.
Excellent.
Debatably an urban legend, but amusing nonetheless. Interesting nonetheless.
That's nuts.
And the last thing I have to share with you, Kristen,
Yeah.
is called the Fouke Monster?
Yes.
The Fouke Monster?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
Now, debatably, this is relatively short, but I do feel like there could be potential to revisit this fella in the future. It's essentially, in its most simplistic form,
Yeah.
it's a Bigfoot in Arkansas. One witness described it as being 10 feet tall, weighing an estimated 800 pounds. That's big.
That's a big boy.
It's a big foot.
Yeah.
Right? Some accounts describe the Fouke monster as running swiftly with a galloping gait, swinging its arms in a fashion similar to a monkey.
Quite a guy. Yeah.
Reports also describe it as having a terrible odor. The odor being described as a combination.
What?
Kristen just shut her laptop so as to focus more clearly on the bad odor.
Honestly, it's like, ooh, tell me
I'm
more.
listening.
We didn't do Ripley's, believe it or not. It was bothering me. I think I told a story that intersected with
Ripley's?
it, but we haven't actually like focused on it.
Yeah, I think it's worth taking
Yeah.
a peek at. So let me get back to this monkey odor.
Please.
All right. So the Fouke monster is said to have a terrible odor. The odor being described as a combination of a skunk and a wet dog.
That doesn't sound good.
Doesn't sound good.
No.
I don't know why it's not just a wet skunk.
Yeah, that's true. Well, wet dog is pretty distinctive, I guess.
True, yeah. And having bright red eyes about the size of silver dollars. A variety of tracks and claw marks have been discovered which are claimed to belong to the creature. One set of prints reportedly measured 17 inches long.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of math. Oh, and they also say it only had 3 toes.
Uh-huh.
It's worth pointing out that it's like, what is it? Bigfoot, you still think of having like 5 toes or something like that.
Yeah,
3
right.
toes. That feels like some sort of a demon or a bird
That's like,
or a big bird.
The Hopkinsville aliens or whatever, or the footprints that they found in Hellier.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
three-toed.
Or the footprints they found in Paranormal Activity.
Ah, yes.
So,
Hopkinsville goblin, that's what I meant.
17-inch long foot. I did some research, and I estimate that the Fouke monster would require approximately a size 29 shoe. For reference.
That's good research.
For reference.
Yeah.
Take a guess. What size shoe does Shaquille O'Neal wear?
19.
Higher. You're not high enough.
23.
All right. You're very close. 22.
Okay.
22. Shaq wears a size 22.
Yeah.
This monster would need a size 29. Pretty big monster.
Now that's a big shoe.
Pretty big monster.
Yeah.
Now that's a big shoe.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway.
That's like a clown shoe, but your whole entire foot is taking it up.
You're right. I wonder
Yeah.
what size a clown shoe is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. So, the Fouke monster, Fouke monster, first made headlines in 1971. I'm always amazed when it turns out that some of these stories are more recent than I would
Yeah.
think. 1971, when it was reported to have attacked the home of Bobby and Elizabeth Ford. According to Elizabeth Ford, the creature, which she initially thought was a bear, reached through a screen window that night while she was asleep on the couch. It was chased away by her husband and his brother Don. During the alleged encounter, they fire guns at the Fouke monster, and they think they hit it, but when they go out to see where it ran off to, they don't even see any signs of blood, no damage, whatever. So they either missed it or this thing is able to like
Yeah, can really sustain some damage.
sustain some damage.
Like a major bad guy in a video game.
Exactly right. Yeah, like the Flatwoods monster in Fallout 79
Yeah.
or whatever. But 3-toed footprints were found close to the house, as well as scratch marks on the porch and damage to a window and the house's siding. According to the Fords, they had heard someone moving around outside late at night several nights prior, but having lived in the house for less than a week, never encountered the creature before. So, starting from there in 1971, as often happens whenever somebody claims that they saw a monster, sightings abound
Yeah.
in this general area of Arkansas. The existence of the creature is never 100% verified, but other people have said that they saw this thing and also said that they came across 3-toed footprints. Our good buddy skeptic Joe Nickel gets involved at one point. Somebody had a claim that they saw this thing, and as they approached it, it like acted like it was sniffing in the air or something like that. And Joe Nickel was like, sounds like you saw a bear.
Yeah.
I think what you saw was a bear. Which is a reasonable thing to say.
It is.
Joe Nickel also made it his business to say everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Right.
You can look at it both ways. Now,
But the skunky smell.
I
Do
know.
bears emit this?
What of the smell? I'm sure a bear is capable of emitting foul odors. Do you dispute that?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, because anyone who's ever even been to a simple zoo, now, I know it ain't a bear necessarily, but there are some odors you may encounter from animals.
No, it is absolutely
You
true.
ever been to the monkey house?
Dude, that is wild.
Yo, it's wild in the monkey house.
Talk about odors.
Woo! Ooh. The incident began to attract substantial interest after news spread about the Ford sighting. The Little Rock, Arkansas radio station KAAY posted, this is weird, a $1,090 bounty.
Well, I guess
not
they
just
made
$1,000, but also not 1,100.
I wonder if somebody made it 1,000 and somebody else was like, I'll kick in 90.
I got 90.
Yeah.
1090. Like odd. On the creature.
I'll take every buck I can get, honestly.
Listen.
So, yeah.
I would just never take it.
Patreon.com/GTTU.
Hell yeah. But so, understandably, after this bounty is offered, several attempts were made to track the creature with dogs. No one was able to find the scent. People kept trying to be like, I found the monster.
Yeah.
Can I have money? Hunters began to take interest in the Fouke Monster, and Miller County Sheriff Leslie Greer was forced to put a temporary no guns policy in place in order to preserve public safety.
This has happened. I know that I've covered monsters in the past too, where like the local police force has had to step in and be like, you guys need to chill on hunting this monster because it's starting to be like dangerous for our town because everybody's going nuts.
We're getting out of control. So no guns.
Yeah.
But now to play devil's advocate, let's say there is a monster.
Yeah. This monster goes by other names too, right?
It does. And we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Mm-hmm. There is a monster. Again, let's take that at face value. There is a monster, Kristen.
Okay.
And you're not allowed to hunt it with guns.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I know you're terrified.
What do you do? Just walk around with like a big sack?
I lock up tight. I close up shop. I stay in
You're out of the hunting game?
Yeah.
You ever enter the hunting game, you think?
Hell no.
Walk around with like a big butterfly net?
No.
Can you imagine you're the person who does find the monster, the Fouke monster?
Everyone would be in such trouble.
And then you get your net over its head, and it just is like breaks through the net and stinkily runs down the street. You're like, shit! If that no guns thing hadn't been put in place, I would have caught the Fouke monster.
Right?
Fouke you,
Fouke you,
Mr. Mayor.
I know.
It's a mess.
Ugh.
It's a mess. In 1971, 3 people were fined $59 each for, quote, filing a fraudulent monster report.
What?
Is that a crime? If so, then lock me up.
That's right.
And throw away the key.
I wonder if they had to like add that to the town, bylaws or something.
Create the law.
Because can you just like have a one-off lawsuit like that and just leave that out of like the permanent record? I don't know.
Like some cop that was like, I got you for trespassing, but that's right. I also got you for filing a fraudulent monster report.
Wow.
And I wrote, I would like to frame a citation.
Yes.
For a
fraudulent monster report.
For being a fraudulent monster reporter.
Yeah, what an honor.
We've been reporting on monsters for 7 years.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we are fraudulent monster reporters.
We're frauds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like somebody to issue us a ticket for fraudulent monster reporting, a citation.
Yeah.
And I will frame it and put it on the wall.
I would love that.
Our P.O. box is on the website.
Yes. Highland Park Police Department, get at us.
I'm going to go to the cops.
Yeah.
And just put my...
Lock me up.
Take me away.
Yeah.
Calgon, take me away. Get out of here. He's back, everybody. Yeah. All right. So you asked if this creature goes by another name. Kristen, it sure does. 1972 sees a movie get released called The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Ever heard of them? That's
you?
Right. The whole time we've been talking about the Boggy Creek monster. Yes.
That's right. The Fouke monster is the Boggy Creek monster. But it is weird because Boggy Creek is what the movie was. But like the creature really does appear to be called the Fouke monster. But then it spawns a movie franchise.
There's also like, have you ever heard of Small Town Monsters? They do a lot of like documentary movies, and they have a movie about the Boggy Creek monster.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Because I did a little research on the legend.
It probably goes by both. I don't know.
The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah.
Now, had you ever seen this movie?
No.
I have not seen this movie. I wanted to watch it for the show.
Yeah.
Time just did not allow. But I do think there's enough to the Boggy Creek world that I could imagine watching these movies because something interesting happens within them that I'll get to.
Yeah.
But so I'm not familiar. I'm
really not either.
Rang a
In
bell.
name, I'm familiar.
I know the name, The Legend of Boggy Creek. What was most notable to me at first was that this movie came out in 1972. Well, that original sighting of the Fouke Monster was like 1970 or 1971.
Damn.
What was it?
They got right to work. I think it was
1971,
71, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So 1 year later, Charles B. Pierce releases The Legend of Boggy Creek. He pounces right on this monster story, strikes while the iron is hot. That is notable to me. You also just told a story where it was like 3 years later. Mm-hmm. Oh, 3 years after the report of Decent Charlotte's death.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Fair Charlotte.
Fair Charlotte's death. That poem is written. Yep. It's like interesting to have like such proximity to the event, especially when it's something that, in Fair Charlotte's case, like something that's far more harrowing and morbid.
Yeah, totally.
Boggy Creek, like nobody died from this monster. There was just like a little local panic in Arkansas. Yeah. But the other notable thing about this, and again, maybe this is just my own soft spot for why I want to look at it more closely. The Legend of Boggy Creek is not just a horror film, it's a docudrama.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't really talked about docudramas.
Yeah.
The film combines staged interviews with local residents who claim to have encountered the creature, along with reenactments of those encounters.
Huh.
It's the Blair Witch
I was about to
Project.
say, I would like to get a look at this.
It's the 1972 Blair Witch Project.
Right.
Now, it's not found
it's
footage.
Supposed to be good?
It's not. It's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Director and producer Charles B. Pierce, an advertising salesman, secured funding from a local trucking company and hired local high school students to help complete the film. Made on a budget of, I mean, take a stab. It's almost impossible to guess this, but he got funding from a trucking company and it's made with high school students.
$5,000?
$160,000.
My God. I have no concept of all these things.
Now, trucking companies that may be listening.
Yes, seriously.
Or watching.
Way to go, trucking company.
Patreon.com/GTTUpod. Want to financially support people making stuff?
Seriously.
Holy guacamole. $160,000.
Wow.
And it did quite well, I do believe. Let me see here. The film earned $25 million.
Oh my God.
This is really not dissimilar from a Blair Witch type situation.
No.
Now, it is what differentiates Blair Witch again is that it's found footage style. It purports that it's all.
Yep.
I guess this is purporting it's real too, but they're also saying we're dramatizing things.
Yes.
Blair Witch was saying this whole thing is real, so that still is what keeps it unique. But it is fascinating.
It sounds like the format is like super similar.
Very similar format.
It sounds maybe just like the
interviews. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I am fascinated by this. 1972. Again, I don't want to talk too much about it because I would like to. Put some additional focus. Maybe we could even do like look at things that are like Blair Witch adjacent or inspired. I know The Last Broadcast is another one that I don't know, but I've had earmarked in my head for something someday. This is going to be another one of those.
Yeah.
So someday we're going to talk about this. But the other thing that's notable that is interesting to me. So there are sequels, sort of. Boggy Creek is almost like an Amityville type term now.
Oh.
This is weird.
Yeah.
There is a movie called Return to Boggy Creek that was released in 1977.
Yeah.
Which I don't think has anything to do with The Legend of Boggy Creek. It's just called
Dining out on the name?
Return to Boggy Creek. It is directed by a different person. It's an unofficial sequel. It carries over none of the original's docudrama elements, and it itself is followed by 3 films. Boggy Creek 2. This is, it's madness. Wait a minute. It's totally out of control. Hold on a second. Boggy Creek 2, The Legend, even weirder. Boggy Creek 2, subtitle, and The Legend Continues.
Oh my God, that's a terrible name.
Terrible name. Boggy Creek 2 and The Legend Continues is a sequel by Charles B. Pierce to his 1972 original.
Wow. Why and?
I don't know. Boggy Creek 2 and The Legend Continues.
Oof.
I don't know.
What a name.
But I do believe that there were yet other Boggy movies. And some of them are just like this one takes place in like Texas.
Yeah.
But it's called Boggy Creek because you can just use the name.
Yeah, right. Like just Amityville,
different monster films just given the title Boggy Creek for sales interest.
Right.
So bizarre. Again, I think perhaps deserving of its own attention, those movies in particular, the Fouke Monster we've got here, but
Right.
the Boggy movies, the Boggyverse, I think we might revisit somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
But the movie was reviewed quite well. From the Arkansas Gazette, scene after scene of almost pristine wilderness is a visual feast. Its sheer, honest, rigid adherence to authenticity is highly persuasive that there is indeed a Fouke Monster. It's scary and charming.
Cool. I mean, that sounds good to me.
The Hollywood Reporter. The film captures the eerie beauty of Arkansas's primeval swamps and contains images of Southern American backwoods life unmatched in its rich, rustic flavor. Fascinating. I think I would like to see this.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, and this. Writer and director Dan Myrick cited The Legend of Boggy Creek as an influence for 1999's The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
So, fascinating. Oh, 2010, there's an unauthorized sequel with no narrative connection to the original, simply titled Boggy Creek. It concerns a Bigfoot-like creature who attacks a group of teenagers who are vacationing in the fictional area of Boggy Creek, Texas. It just has nothing to do with it at all.
They just couldn't
It's
resist.
Just called Boggy Creek. But all of this orbiting the idea that there was this Fouke monster that freaked people out in the 70s in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Again, an urban legend that spawned a film franchise? What do you call it?
I don't
even
know what to call it, but at least one movie and then a bunch that use part of that movie's name.
Who the hell knows? But there you go.
Yeah.
The F section is well underway.
Yeah.
We're doing it, everybody.
That's right. Well, hope you enjoyed that. We will be going through more of Wikipedia's urban legends, as we feel like it.
We like to have a lot of variety on the show. So inevitably we'll come back to it. But this is an ongoing... I love having these little pet projects that we revisit here and there. I think it keeps things fresh.
Totally.
If somebody is like, I could use a little something different, well, we're going to have it next week. Next week will be totally different.
We got it. Don't worry about it.
But we've got these like... Guide to the Unknown has really turned into like 18 different paranormal shows in one.
I know.
We can revisit various formats, and I greatly enjoy myself.
Me too.
Have just enough distance for it to feel fresh again.
Absolutely.
And we keep the party going,
I know.
everybody.
It helps not get all oogie-boogie.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We will be back next week. But in the meantime, please go to patreon.com/GTTUpod if any of what we said before intrigues you.
And it should. It should. I'm telling you, there is great stuff happening on the Patreon, even right this second. Go check it out.
It's true. We also have a Discord where awesome people hang out and talk every day. It kicks total ass. We have a newsletter that you can get when you join the Patreon for free. It's worth going and perusing, seeing what you think.
Absolutely.
We are also on social media at GTTUpod. We post, did I say too many T's?
GTTTTUpod.
GTTUpod, where we post when we have new shows, we post when we're going live, and we're on social media ourselves. I am at Chillin' Kristen.
I am at The Myth Traveler. So as we said, we'll be back next week for something completely different. Hit the brakes and pivot. Why not?
Yeah.
Just stay in the car with us. Get your seatbelt on. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we.
Sinking down into that boggy creek.
That's right.
I don't need no coat. Why would I wear a coat?
Who needs a coat? The reeds of the creek will envelop me.
That really was a nice poem.
Oh, I know.
It's beautiful.
I forgot that was what you're referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you know what's really in the boggy creek.
Yeah, squelchy stuff.
Yeah. Toot toot.